I do believe that we are live. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Watchman News, where the headlines are real, the commentary is questionable, and the coffee overpriced. But hey, at least it's not from United Healthcare's cafeteria, because as of today, their CEO won't be dining there anymore. Too soon? If you're offended, call your therapist. Just hope United Healthcare covers the session. Let's dive in, shall we? In a story that sounds less like real life and more like the pilot episode of a true crime podcast. United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was tragically shot outside a Manhattan hotel this morning. Now, for the three of you who don't know, United Healthcare is part of the United Health Group, a multi-billion-dollar health insurance company. Yes, the same folks that think pre-existing conditions are a fun game of not our problem. Reports say the shooter was a masked man wearing a cream-colored jacket, a black mask, and carrying a gray backpack. Cream jacket, black mask. Sir, are you a hitman or the latest concept art for a Wes Anderson movie? Honestly, if you're committing murder, at least try not to look like a walking beige crime meme. Here's the kicker. Witnesses claim the gunman escaped on a bicycle. A bicycle! New York City, everyone, where the traffic is so bad even hitmen are like, forget the getaway car, I'll just Peloton out of here. Now the NYPD says this was a targeted attack. No kidding, Sherlock. It wasn't random. No one's out there shooting CEOs at dawn thinking they're handing out free bagels. Word is the assailant had been lurking around the hotel all morning. Look, if you see someone pacing outside a Hilton Midtown at 6 a.m., it's one of two things. Either they're a hitman or a conference attendee that realized they forgot their PowerPoint slides. Folks, can we talk about this investor conference for a second? The man was on his way to explain how United Healthcare made billions by raising premiums and denying claims. Honestly, if you're going to play villain in the American healthcare system, at least hire better security. I mean, no bodyguards, no bulletproof vest. You're in Manhattan, not Mayberry. Now here's where things get spicy. Bloomberg says it might have been a contract hit. Okay, so somewhere out there someone was like, you know what, I'm sick of these out-of-network charges. Time to hire a guy named Vinny who's always free on Wednesdays. Let's be real, folks. If you wanted to hire a hitman, how would you pay? Venmo? Zelle? For services rendered? Yeah, sure. Or maybe you write it off as a healthcare consulting fee. I mean, who's auditing these books anyway? The same people who think $12 for a Band-Aid in the ER is reasonable? Of course, the conspiracy theories are already flying. Some people think it was an inside job, someone from the insurance world. I mean, who knows? Maybe Aetna was trying to send a message, stay off our turf, Thompson. Or maybe it was a disgruntled policyholder. Imagine the police sketch. Suspect is approximately 47 years old, carrying a manila folder full of denied claims and muttering about deductibles. But in all seriousness, this is a tragedy. A man lost his life, a family lost a loved one, and somewhere in the chaos, the entire health insurance industry is nervously clutching its pearls. Because if a CEO isn't safe, what hope do the rest of us have? Oh wait, none, because our health insurance doesn't cover hope. So to sum it up, a CEO gunned down in broad daylight, a shooter with an eye for fashion, and a healthcare system that's a sick joke, pun intended. But hey, at least we know one thing. When it comes to murder mysteries, New York City always delivers, just like their bagels. Stay safe, folks, and maybe invest in some body armor because apparently your PPO plan doesn't cover bullets. What's up? What is up? I have to say ChatGPT did it again. I didn't expect that it was actually going to give me a comedy bit based on that news, but it did. That's awesome. Anyway, you gotta love technology. And the picture maker thing wasn't broken today, so it also made me an image that I could put for the thumbnail. So that worked. Grab a drink of coffee here. And it is kind of overpriced. Have you seen the price of that stuff? Holy cow. I can't, was it $16 or something I paid? Hang on. I'm getting huffed by the dog. Huffed by the dog, I say. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure. $16.47. I get the 33.7 ounce canister, the big canister of Folgers Colombian, and $16.47. So coffee is not cheap. Not even close. Eggs are like $20 for the 60 count box that I normally get. We haven't even been getting that because, holy hell, we just eat less eggs for now. I wish we could have chickens. So yeah, I'm very interested in an interview that I'm not sure when it's going to be released. I can't wait till it is. And that is an interview between Tucker Carlson and Lavrov. He went back over to, meaning Tucker, he went back over to Moscow. And this time, instead of meeting with Putin, he met with Lavrov. And I'm excited to be able to hear how that interview turned out. I'm also curious, and I mean, there's no way to know this unless they put out the information, and I highly doubt they would. But I'm also curious if maybe Tucker might have been sent with a little note so that maybe a message could be sent to Putin without the world knowing. Because I believe, my firm belief that I think that Trump wants to de-escalate things, and I know that Tucker would love to be able to take part in de-escalating things, and maybe he was sent with a little note. So I actually am hopeful of that. I hope that happened. Because as Tucker says it, I've said it too, and it's not just something to say because it's something to say. This is the most tense time as far as nuclear armament is concerned that has ever happened. The Cuban Missile Crisis does not even come close to where we are standing right now, and that's freaky. The other night when I did one of the little comedy bits, I was talking about being desensitized in 2024, and we have been. Ever since COVID, we have been getting incrementally desensitized. And I've noticed it. And I don't think, to be honest, I don't think a lot of folks are holding this situation with as much seriousness as they probably should be. Now, that being said, it's not like there's a whole hell of a lot we can do other than do our best to prepare ourselves and our loved ones. But in the macro, there's not a whole lot we can do. We're certainly not in control. We're not the ones with the button in front of us. But we better be doing what we can to get ready. Now, do I think that that's, where everybody wants to take it? They want to go nuclear? I don't think so. I think the only ones that are interested in going nuclear is the West and the deep state, if you will, the military-industrial complex. Aside from that, I really, really don't think Putin wants to go there. I don't think anybody else wants to go there. Just the West and the people that, somehow stand to benefit from this nonsense. And I have to say somehow because when I'm thinking about nuclear Armageddon, how are you going to benefit from that? Now, don't get me wrong. These elites, they have their places all ready to go. And it's not just talking nonsense. A lot of them have bunkers. They're fully stocked. They're fully ready to go. I've heard, I can't confirm or verify this, I've heard there have already been individuals going to their bunkers, just kind of quietly meandering off, and that's where they went. I don't know if that's true or not, but I have heard it. So it's crazy. It is crazy. I just looked down, Leol, as in scrambling what, sir? So, if anybody wants to know what would be good supplies to get in that type of an instance, first off, I want to say I'm not the guy to go to. I'm not the nuclear physicist. I would definitely recommend reading books. Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry. So make sure you get some good material that you can educate yourself with on the matter. But I will say, and I've got part of it, I would say plastic sheeting is something you most certainly want. And you want a whole lot of duct tape. A whole lot. Because you want to be able to duct tape up any cracks or anything like that. So, let's say you've got fallout that's incoming. Like even around your windows, you'll want to duct tape. You'll want to make sure that every little crack that you can possibly tape up, you tape up. You want to try to cut as many drafts as possible. You don't really want anything pulling any in or outside air coming in at all. And you really don't want to even be circulating air around the home. So using HVAC systems and stuff like that, not a good idea. Essentially, the best thing that you can do is put as much distance in between you and where the contamination's going to be. So if you've got a basement, the best place you could be is in the center of that basement, away from the outside walls, and of course, as far away from the roof as possible. Distance, that's a big deal. Get that distance between you, of course, and we don't even have iostat tablets. Make sure you've got iodide tablets. Again, we don't even have that. Potassium iodide, I believe it is. We don't even have duct tape. I do got plastic. I've got that. Zero duct tape. No iodide tablets. I would have some if I could. Most certainly. Make sure you've got stuff, supplies to be able to scrub people down. I've talked about that before. If you want to know what I'm talking about, go find the movie Silkwood. It's an old movie, came out in the 80s. My dad worked for the company, not that particular facility. My dad worked up here for Kerr-McGee. My dad actually worked there, involved with creosote. He was, I think he was the boiler room supervisor for the creosote treating plant. They did, I guess, telephone poles, railroad ties, but different part of Kerr-McGee Chemical. But the movie Silkwood gives you a real good demonstration of what happens if you get radiation contamination on your skin and what has to be done to remove it. And it's not pretty. It is not pretty. And I hate to say this because I'm only like 95% positive on this, so definitely fact check me on it. But I'm pretty sure that you have to scrub enough that you have to at least remove the first layer of your skin. If I'm not mistaken, you have to scrub that hard that you remove at least that first layer. You will be scratched up, red, and most likely have a little bit of bleeding in some spots from how hard you have to scrub. There is no other option. So I highly recommend you looking into some books on the subject or any type of other informational guideline to be able to know more of what to do than what I can tell you. I just know the basics. I know if, and I've said this before, if you've got a basement and you've got windows in the basement, you're gonna want to pile dirt up over those windows. Probably, probably I would say 1.5 to 2 foot of dirt, at least, over top of the windows. You want to be as far away from the contaminated materials as you can get. So that's no joke. It's absolutely no joke. I hope that it's nothing that we have to deal with. At the same time, I'm realistic enough to know that there's a whole lot of things saying that this is one of the trials that we're going to go through. And so as to how large, how widespread, I don't know. But I have a pretty distinct feeling at some point we'll be dealing with it. Again, a lot of it location. It depends on where you're at. And then at the same time, there's so many variables, like how many. I'm going to assume a lot of them are going to get through because of the new technology. But you still have a matter of how many are launched and what exactly is actually going on. Is it a tit for a tat, or is it an all-out, mutually assured destruction situation? Do I think that it would get pushed to mutual assured destruction? I don't know about that. Technology has came a long way since then, and they like to use nukes as a quote-unquote deterrent, although I'm not quite so sure they're so much effective for that in this day and time. We'll see. I do have, how many? 5. I thought I had 4. I do have 5 articles to talk to you about. One of them was the CEO that was murdered in New York. Last I knew, they had nobody as far as suspects. So there's still a manhunt going on for whoever it was that did it. Do I think they'll catch the person that did it? No. This seemed to me like it was pretty clean cut, and I don't think they will. I don't think that, for one, they have no idea from any type of surveillance footage or anything like that. They don't have anything. If this guy was smart enough not to take his cell phone with him, then they won't have that. If they don't have any forensic evidence that they can use, there's nothing for him to go on. The only thing that really stood out was his backpack. It was a very, as the news put it, a very distinct type of backpack. And aside from somebody just happen to know Joe Blow that's got a backpack just like that, I don't know how they're going to solve this one. I really don't. Somebody in that position is going to have a lot of haters, both inside the insurance, business and customers. Now here's the crazy thing. The response. The online response from just average people had been very telling. There are a lot of people that seem pretty gleeful about this. And I think that's telling. Is that telling for more things to come? I don't know. But I'll say this. We have got such an upside-down world. Now, I just told you about a CEO of a healthcare network that was murdered. And many of you have probably had to deal with insurance. You know how much of a nightmare it can be. You know how it can be hard to get things that you thought were covered, and then you know about the deductibles and all of that nonsense. Basically, it's getting harder and harder for you and I to get any kind of health care, at least to have it covered, even if we're paying into some type of system. So, I don't know. Would it bother you to know that somebody can be sitting in prison, living off your dime as it is, off your taxes, and have unnecessary procedures taken care of? Upside down, folks. You've got the U.S. government that is sending billions to Ukraine and other nations, but yet barely want to do anything to help the people in North Carolina. That's messed up. But what's equally messed up is situations like me. I've paid into the healthcare system. Well, healthcare system, I'm talking about, I used to have health insurance. Many of the companies I worked for, I was on health insurance. And so I paid in, gosh, I'd hate to think how many thousands of dollars I'd paid into health care over my life. But because I don't have it right now, because I don't have a current policy right now, none of that money means a damn thing. And that just, to me, that makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. So when stories like this next one happen, man, it's got people like me and probably people like you livid. U.S. to fund sex change surgery for mail bomber, says the media. Let's get into this. U.S. Department of Justice, them fine folks, has reportedly endorsed a taxpayer-funded gender reassignment surgery for a prison inmate charged with sending a mail bomb to the DOJ headquarters in Washington. Okay? Are you tracking? Hang on 1 second. Okay, whatever that is. The prisoner, who was initially not identified in court documents, sued for a sex change last December. The Georgia Department of Corrections sent a status report to court on Monday, revealing that the surgery will be performed soon. The Gender Dysphoria Committee convened on November 1, 2024. The committee has medically cleared Ms. Jane Doe for surgery and has informed the Georgia Department of Corrections that the recommended treatment plan for Ms. Doe is gender reassignment surgery, says the document, quoted by the conservative outlet Headline USA on Wednesday. Jane Doe is the legal pseudonym, I can't say that damn word, for parties that wish to remain anonymous. Duh. Headline USA has identified the plaintiff as David Cassidy, 55, who has been serving a life sentence in Georgia State Prison since 1993. Listen to this. For multiple counts of aggravated sodomy, gang membership, and other charges. In April this year, the DOJ charged Cassidy with making 2 bombs and mailing them to a federal courthouse in Alaska and a federal facility at 1400 New York Avenue Northwest in Washington, D.C. The latter is the DOJ headquarters in the U.S. Capitol. Cassidy allegedly made the bombs in 2019 and 20 while serving his sentence at the Reedsville, Georgia prison, which has since closed. He was then transferred to the Phillips State Prison in Beaufort. The federal indictment charged Cassidy with one count of making an unregistered destructive device. Yeah, I would like to register my bomb, please. 2 counts of mailing a destructive device, and 1 count of attempted malicious use of an explosive. The defendant has pleaded not guilty. After the charges were unsealed in April, Atlanta's WSB-TV revealed that one of the bombs was sent to the widow of the man Cassidy sexually assaulted as a teenager. So he sent a bomb to the widow of the man he sexually assaulted. Federal trial was scheduled for December 9 but was recently postponed with no new date scheduled, according to Headline USA. The DOJ has continued to refer to Cassidy as a man in the bomb case, but as a woman in the amicus brief supporting his request for a sex change at taxpayers' expense. Cassidy's case appears to be based on the precedent set by Peter Donna Langen, a neo-Nazi bank robber who last year became the first federal inmate to receive gender reassignment surgery at government expense. So, I think they need to slip and cut off a different head. I don't know about you, but I think they need to just cut off a different head and be done with it. This is insane. This is mind-blowing. Now, how messed up is it? How methed up is it that you can send an explosive device to the DOJ and then get the DOJ to back you up on an unnecessary operation on the taxpayer dime? It's insane. Absolutely insane. Maybe we ought to promote everybody that was involved in this decision to CEOs of healthcare agencies. That might work. Might work. I'm gonna have some coffee. I never did put my watch on the charger. I might want to do that. Put my little PUD systems, wherever the hell they are. My little PUD systems. And where I've got nighttime vapes. Yay. Okay, good to go. Maybe. Let's see if I'm charging. Come on, light up. Or don't light up. My watch dead. Yeah, it was. Huh. Alrighty then. The damn thing's old. When did I get that frickin' thing? And it's like the cheapest smartwatch that runs the Wear OS operating system. I have been absolutely amazed at how long it's continued to run. Oh. I thought I bought it from Amazon. I guess not. I guess I bought it off eBay. Can't remember what I paid for it, but and exactly when I got it. But it's been several years, and I'm surprised that damn thing works at all. It does need the battery replaced in it, because the battery's just not up to not even half of what it was, but maybe. I don't know. I wished I could get a more up-to-date one. I don't know what the heck that is. I ain't clicking the link. I am very hesitant about clicking links, especially in Facebook Message. Okay. If it's like a video link or something like that, I won't click it. No. Well, I mean, it depends. If it's something that somebody's actively talking to me, that's one thing. But if all they do is post me the link, Nope, nope. That's how you get got. Alright. I reckon we can move on to this next story. NATO to launch naval drone fleet, says an admiral. The NATO military commanders want to launch a fleet of unmanned surface watercraft and later submersibles to monitor the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea, Defense News reported on Tuesday. Now, okay. The project is based on a similar U.S. program, maybe they're going to talk something about it, in the Persian Gulf, and could be started before the next NATO summit to be held in the Netherlands in June 2025. French Admiral Pierre Vandière, who holds the position of NATO Supreme Allied Commander Transformation, told the news website. The official compared the idea to city CCTV cameras, saying the technology is there to implement such a system. In fact, it already exists, so somehow it's not very risky. The U.S. has enforced Task Force 59 in the Gulf for years, so everything is known and sold. So it is much more a matter of adoption than technology, Vandière explained. The Admiral was referring to a project launched by the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in September 2021 to monitor some 2.5 million square miles of water in the Middle East area of operations. Earlier this year, the U.S. created a subunit of the task force operating out of Bahrain to integrate manned and unmanned missions. Vandière said that the said NATO project has support from the organization's Central Command of Maritime Forces and its operational headquarters. The outlet suggested it was moving forward due to a pattern of undersea cable damage across European waters, which some Western officials have blamed on Russia despite a lack of evidence. The latest such incident was reported this week and involved a link between Finland and Sweden. NATO's two newest members, Swedish Civil Defense Minister Carl Oskar Bolin, claimed on Tuesday that sabotage could have been involved, but Finnish officials later confirmed that at least one of the two identified breaks was caused by construction work. Vandière was approved for his NATO post in June. He previously served as Chief of Staff for the French Navy and commanded the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle. French military has been trying to integrate robotic Airbus helicopters, or the VSR 700 rotorcraft, to be flown from its warships, but the SDAM program has suffered from delays and requirement changes, according to local media. Now, I know that going back over a decade ago, that they were playing around with they had a completely autonomous fleet of ships in the Atlantic Ocean that they just let go. And I don't know what all kinds of armament they had, but they were most certainly an armed fleet. And I have no idea if it's still out there, but I know it was out there for a good period of time. And I guess that's basically what it did, was just roam the waters, and if it saw something, report it, I guess. I don't know. There wasn't much information about the project to be released, obviously, but I am aware of the program. That was over a decade ago. Oh, man. My chat keeps disconnecting and reconnecting. I don't know if that's happening to you guys. I've seen it happen a couple of times to Jen. I've been having that. Don't know what's up with that. That's kind of a new thing. But it has been happening, I don't know, for the last week or so. Oh, man. I know Ammon Bundy has tried to go live today a couple of times. I don't know if he was ever successful. But the first time is really interesting. The first time, it shows that there's a video there and that video is some like, I don't remember, 37 minutes or something long. And then when you actually try to click on it, okay, here's one that says it's 32 minutes long. Let's hover it and see. Yeah, it's not. Okay. Yeah, and it is coming up 32 minutes long. So maybe he did get it out this evening. But earlier today, again, it showed that it was like some 37 minutes or something like that. But then when you actually clicked on a video, you got 40 seconds worth. That was it. And I don't know what was up with that. So I don't know what. Something to do with a court hearing. Yeah, 31 minutes, 37 seconds is what it said earlier it was. And it only got 40 seconds. So anyway, I'll have to watch that, see what it's about. Because I do pay attention. When Ammon Bundy speaks, I listen. He's a good man, and he stands up for good causes. And so, if he's got something to talk about, then I'm going to listen to what he's got to say. Let's see. Got two more headlines here to go over. So, I'm not in a big super hurry or nothing. It's just more war stuff, essentially. Some admission and some suspicion. We are teetering on the brink, if I can get it out. We're teetering on the brink of an all-out conflict. And there are so many places around the world that it could actually kick off. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Who was it? I was watching, I think it was Glenn Beck. I think he put out a video earlier today where he had talked about a conversation between himself and Donald Trump down in Mar-a-Lago. And, he's talking to Trump about North Korea. And, Trump's open to going and visiting Kim Jong-un. Is that his name? Little rocket man. He is certainly interested in going back down there and meeting with him again. And he's got my 100% support behind that. He did the first time, he does this time. To me, that's what we're supposed to be doing. By the way, I did get breaking news just a moment ago. Bitcoin tops $100,000 on optimism over the Trump crypto plans. So, Bitcoin tops $100,000. Trump, when Glenn was talking to him about North Korea's military, Trump knows the score. And, there's a lot of people, myself included, I don't like ego. Not even a little bit. And a lot of times when Trump speaks, he does speak with ego. But from hearing what Glenn had to say about this conversation, what he said about the North Korean military, I don't see where there was possibly any ego there. He flat out told Glenn, got an army of 4 million people. 4 million people. That's a lot of bodies to throw at a situation. A lot. In reality, North Korea could go in and just steamroll South Korea anytime they wanted. And that's a fact. That is a fact. Now, they are becoming not just a nuclear power, but a formidable nuclear power. They've got pretty advanced submarines. They have capability to launch missiles, nuclear missiles from submarines. We need to treat that situation, in my opinion, with respect. Because out of all the countries that we look at, nuclear-armed countries, I personally feel like the one most likely to launch on the United States would be North Korea. So, I can't see what it would hurt to open up some dialogue. We have to do something. We have to de-escalate. We've got to get off of this, whatever the hell kind of track you want to call it. But it's insanity. All around insanity. There are people that are very insistent in causing as much unrest around the world as possible. Because they stand to benefit from it. They stand to profit from it. While you and I get to foot the bill and suffer. So I do hope Trump has another meeting with North Korea. I do hope Trump calms down all the military drills with South Korea. As far as South Korea is concerned, I expect that we're going to see some changes. There was a resignation of he was titled the defense minister, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm pretty sure that the president has already appointed a new one. I believe I remembered seeing that in the headlines. There could be more changes to come. Because clearly there are a whole lot of people that want that president gone. I don't know enough about the politics of South Korea to be able to really comment on it. I know what actions I've seen him take. I don't jive with that. I don't jive with that. So we'll see. We'll see. It's most likely a very complex situation, just like we got here in the United States. We've got an out of control, completely, lying media, mainstream media. What do you do with that? In a country to where you're guaranteed your free speech. What do you do with that? Do you go against that guarantee? Man, I certainly wouldn't want to make that call, and I don't want to see that call made. But we have to do something, and I think probably the best something to do is just for those alternative voices to keep speaking. One of the reasons why I came back, be another alternative voice to keep speaking. Because we're winning. And that should have been very evident over the course of the past 4 years. From COVID all the way up till now. Sure, we took our lumps for telling the truth. Plenty of them. I still constantly get videos removed for medical misinformation. Constantly. Our channel's been demonetized without any hope of getting it back remonetized. It is what it is. It's not about making money for me. It's about the truth. That's all it's about. I'm hoping that the current trend continues and that people will be more recognizant of the lies in the mainstream media, start seeking and listening to more alternative media, and hopefully we can make the mainstream media even more irrelevant than what it is right now. It's pretty irrelevant at this point. So we'll see, you know. In a lot of cases, it's just about money. But when it comes to the media, it's not just about money. It's also about power. And there are some very wealthy individuals that make very lucrative deals for these individuals and these media companies to lie. Was it Rachel Maddow, $25 million a year or something for her contract? Seriously? For that thing? Really? I don't know of any news media person that deserves $25 million a year. None of them. Not even the likes of Tucker. And I love Tucker. Tucker's probably my favorite mainstream-ish media personality. I know he's not mainstream now, but he's big enough that I consider him mainstream, but when I say that, I don't mean that with a negative, attachment to it. I just mean that he's that well known, that much watched. Then of course you've got Glenn Beck and others. I like Tucker. Tucker's at the top for me. Tucker tells the truth. Tucker he don't kiss the ass of nobody. And that's where Glenn falls short. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to get involved in that discussion. But let's hope that the mainstream media, the regular that we've known mainstream media, continues to self-implode and maybe go away. Again, you're not just battling a market with that, the whole fair market kind of thing. Because you've got private interests that are pumping tons and tons, millions and millions of dollars into it to get people to lie for them. So the money's already there from people seeking power, and it's a little harder to shut a situation like that down. All right. I didn't realize I had that up. I guess we'll get to it. British Army would last 6 months in war, says an official. That's not very long. Says in case of an actual conflict, the UK would run out of soldiers in 6 months to a year, the British Ministry of Defence official in charge of personnel, Alistair Cairns, has said. Cairns is the Under-Secretary of State for Veterans and People in the country's Defence Ministry. He raised concerns about the size of the British Army during an event at the Royal United Services Institute think tank on Wednesday. In a war scale, not a limited intervention, but one similar to Ukraine, our army, for example, on the current casualty rates would be expended as part of a broader multinational coalition in 6 months to a year, Cairns said. He based this calculation on questionable Ukrainian claims that Russia was taking 1,500 casualties every day, which Moscow has described as closer to Kiev's actual losses. While this doesn't mean the UK needs a bigger army, it does mean you need to generate depth and mass rapidly in the event of a crisis, he added. The reserves are critical, absolutely essential to that process. Publicly available information has put the size of the British Army at 109,245 people as of October 1. Now think about that in comparison to what I said earlier about 4 million North Korean troops. Kind of crazy. That includes 25,814 volunteer reservists. Carnes argued that the UK has a lot of catching up to do with other NATO members when it came to reserves. His comments come just days after Britain's Deputy Chief of Defence Staff Rob McGowan insisted that the army would fight tonight if ordered. In late October, however, British Secretary of Defence John Healey told Politico that the Army, Navy, and the Air Force had been hollowed out and underfunded during the 14 years of Conservative Party rule. Labour had expected things to go bad, but the state of the finances, the state of the forces, was far worse than we thought, he added. Pardon me. The UK, in keeping with many other nations, has essentially become very skilled and ready to conduct military operations. What we have not been ready to do is fight, Healey said at the time. Earlier this week, the U.S. government funded Radio Free Europe Radio, Liberty claimed, citing anonymous sources, that the UK and France were discussing deploying their troops to Ukraine. As of July, the British Army had just over 73,000 active duty soldiers, the lowest number since 1823. That's a little while. The UK's overall population was around 20 million then and has since grown to 67 million. I wonder why they were so low in say, 1823. British Army was established in 1707 and had their asses kicked in 1776. And is part of the UK's armed forces along with the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force. It's not called Royal because of the standing army is based on the parliamentary forces that fought a civil war against the Crown in the 1600s. We kicked their ass in the 1700s. And we'll do it again, damn it. Bring your redcoats and your muskets and... Got a friend. Lives in London. And, he's proud to be from there. And nothing wrong with that. I believe he's in the reserves now. He was in the military for a while, and he'd been out for a while. I think he went back in the reserves. Great guy, he really is. I think a lot of the guy. But he doesn't think a lot of our laws and our Constitution and all that. He thinks that we should be disarmed. So that's kind of funny. And I have made the comment to him a couple of times whenever he's talked about it that, didn't we already settle this? But, I don't mean no disrespect to him, but at the same time, fuck off. You live in London, right? You just worry about getting stabbed and let us worry about the Second Amendment. That's right. Can't walk around with a butter knife now in that country. Crazy. Now, one more story here. Earlier I was talking about all these different areas where flashpoints can turn into world conflict. And this is yet another one. There's places that we don't talk so much about that could certainly be a flashpoint, like Africa, for instance. There could most certainly be a flashpoint in Africa. A lot of people probably don't realize that. But there are issues there. We're just not seeing them in the news cycle all the time. It's those things you're not watching that, in many cases, comes up to be the problem. Kiev involved in Syrian conflict, says Moscow. And I'm sure we probably knew to some extent that this was the case. Says a significant Ukrainian trace has been detected among foreign fighters in northwestern Syria, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has claimed. The diplomat cited data available on cooperation between Kiev and the terrorist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, including on drones, following a claim Ukraine's intelligence services likely collaborated with the jihadists. The Kiev Post has reported that Islamist groups involved in recent attacks in Aleppo province could have been prepared by the Kimik Special Forces Unit of Ukraine's military intelligence service, which allegedly provided operational training to militants in Idlib province. This is not the first region where the Kiev regime applies its criminal experience, Zakharova stated, as cited by newspaper Vedomosti, highlighting previous Ukrainian involvement in conflicts across Africa and now reportedly in Syria. Mentioned the Africa thing just a moment ago. Radicals are clearly trying to undermine years of efforts towards stability in this country, posing serious security risks for civilians, particularly in conflict zones, Zakharova explained. She condemned the use of civilians as human shields, describing it as a disturbing tactic amid the ongoing violence. Zakharova also suggested that these terrorist acts likely benefit from external support aimed at reigniting conflict in Syria. We express our solidarity with the leadership and people of Syria in this challenging situation, she said, reaffirming Moscow's commitment to the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The Hayat Tahrir al-Sham terrorist group, formerly known as Jabhat al-Nusra, and its allies conducted a large-scale surprise attack in northwestern Syria last week. The militants pushed back government forces, seizing significant territory in Aleppo and Idlib provinces. Aleppo, Syria's second-largest city, has been under government control since 2016. HTS is classified as a terrorist organization by Syria, Russia, Iran, and U.S. and other countries. And recent actions in Syria marked the first major clash between the jihadists and government forces since March of 2020, when a ceasefire was brokered by Russia and Turkey. Syrian President Bashar Assad has vowed to eliminate terrorists and punish their sponsors and supporters. Damascus has accused Western nations of providing support to terrorist groups in the region. Meanwhile, Russian forces have intensified airstrikes against militants, maintaining a strong military presence in Syria with bases in Himimimim and Tartus. I have no idea how the hell that's pronounced. It's Himimimim to me. I don't know. But got to keep a close eye on this stuff. We really do. I particularly watched Syria because the good book gave us a clue when it talked about Damascus. So, or as I like to refer to it, Damascus. But, it's a tough crowd. I got huffed by the dog. That's how I know my jokes really suck. Oh, man. Like I say, all we can do is take care of the micro and try to be as ready as we can for whatever. You know, I don't think, and I don't think it's just hopeful thinking, but I don't think we're looking at a mutually assured destruction type of a situation. I sure hope not. If there is nuclear weapons involved, I think it will be limited strikes. But there are many other avenues of approach when it comes to quote-unquote war now than what there used to be. And you could, I know you've heard these numbers before, you could wipe out 90 to 95% of the population in the United States within a year's time just by taking out the power grid. All you would have to do. So, in my opinion, I think if another nation, would truly want to put the hurting on the United States, that's the angle they would approach from. Now, you and I know that we don't have a government that cares enough about us to focus inward in a situation like that to try to help the American people. And that's just a fact. I know it's been a big topic. I think Bear's been talking about it quite a bit lately. I guess he just figured it out. I don't know. That's why I talk about Johnny-come-latelys and stuff like that. That's why I talk about learning curves and stuff like that. Because I'm sorry, truth of the matter is, most of these quote-unquote popular people here on YouTube, they're Johnny-come-latelys. That's a fact. I was talking about what FEMA was before I even had a news channel. Well over a decade ago. I was going over their continuity of government plans, and I do know that they've got a newer document that's like circa 2021. But that's not the first document that's ever been in circulation about FEMA and its role. The whole FEMA region thing has been talked about for over a decade. The continuity of government, the Council of Governors, are all things associated with FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security. Been around for over a decade. I've been talking about it, maybe not on YouTube, but I've been talking about it for over a decade. So it's nothing new. Nothing new. They just update their programs from time to time. 2021 was the last time FEMA updated their continuity of government plan. That's what they were founded as. They're not here to save you from the big bad hurricane. That's not even much of a good front for them, to be honest. They're not here for that. They're here to take control, and let me tell you what. Something that I've also known about for over a decade is about the FEMA clergy response team. Because, as a member of clergy, I have been asked to participate. No, thank you. I've been asked a long time ago to participate. I won't have nothing to do with it. That's basically their propaganda arm. If something big were to go down, they are literally going to use clergy to convince people to get on the train. It's crazy, but it's true. So none of this stuff is new when it comes to FEMA. Don't trust them. It's important to know the different components. Even the United Postal Service is a component in this. Who do you think FEMA and other related agencies would go around with in case of a major event? The Postal Service. That's right. There could be a major event. You could see your usual postman, postwoman, walking up with a federal agent along with them to ask you questions, give you directions, give you orders. That's the plan. And it's been that way for a long time. So, my advice, be able to take care of yourself and be able to be invisible when they come and make that visit. You don't want to talk to them. You do not want them to know you're there. I will tell you that much. Anyway, that's all I've got this evening. God willing, we'll be back again tomorrow night. We'll see if I can come up with another fun comedy bit to start out with. And we'll do it again and close up the week. Sounds good to me. Hope everybody has a good evening. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Good night, Leo. We will see you all soon. Have a good night. Shalom.